Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf.
With that, now we bring in the outstanding Reuben Frank, NBC Sports Philly. Rube, how you been?
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, you tell me. Hey, what's going on? You tell me, because there are a lot of Eagles fans are looking at that performance on Sunday, and they just were taken aback by it. What was your response watching it?
Well, I think my response was, not really that surprised. I mean, the Eagles aren't good enough to beat anybody when they don't play well. I mean, we talked about it on the pregame show. You can look at one-loss records all you want, and the Giants don't have a good record, but they're a professional team, and they have professional players. And if you go in there and stink up the joint, you're going to lose the game. I don't care who you are. And the Eagles aren't good enough to go in to any stadium and beat anybody if they don't play well. And we saw that, and maybe that's a good lesson for him. We'll find out Sunday, but it was disappointing, but certainly not surprising. I mean, this team, they don't have a winning record. They haven't accomplished anything. They haven't won anything. So, if you go in there and drop passes and commit penalties and turn the ball over 4 times and do all those kind of things, you're going to lose, and that's what happened. You know
what's interesting about the game is that in watching it is that I didn't feel like the Giants did anything exceptional and won. Sometimes a team will do something and they did a few things except. I didn't feel like the Giants did anything exceptional. What did you think?
No, this is really an instance of the Eagles losing a game more than the Giants winning it. I mean, the Giants made a couple plays, but the Eagles outgained them by, almost 100 yards. I mean, it comes down to turnovers. You commit 4 turnovers and you don't get any takeaways, you're just not going to win that game. So, the Giants played it close to the vest. They didn't really run the ball at all. They hit a couple passes, and they just didn't turn the ball over and got themselves a win.
All right, so any thought process changing your part when it comes to Jalen Hurts? Sometimes you are who you are. And you can have a bad game. I mean, Aaron Rodgers' opener against New Orleans was a bad game. What's your thought on Hurts now that you're getting more of a feel for him as a quarterback?
Yeah, this was, not a good day for him. And, you look at the sum total, he's done some things really, really well, and there's other things he struggled with. We have 12 games now. And I kind of throw out last year, different coach, different scheme, different players, certainly different O-line. I kind of throw that out and kind of evaluate off what he's done this year. And it's a mixed bag. And, you want to see growth in the passing game. I mean, we know he can run. We know he's a tremendous athlete, a great leader. He's got all the intangibles. Teammates love him. He always says the right thing, does the right thing. You can see the young guys following him. But if you can't make, passes in this league, if you can't get the ball down the field to your receivers, none of that other stuff is going to matter. So we had seen a little bit of growth in that area, not a ton. We'd seen some. They run the ball so well and so much lately. It's hard to get a real sense of where he was as a passer. But, we saw Sunday it was a big step backward. So as far as making any kind of conclusion about what he is and what they should do in the draft or signing a guy or trading for, I'm not there yet because there's 5 games left, and I want to see as much of him as possible. But certainly, you want to see him really rebound from that game, because that was a game where he made mistakes that if you're in the NFL and you talk about Aaron Rodgers in the opener, and he's won a Super Bowl, he's been multiple MVP. It's like Jalen Hurts doesn't have that to fall back on. So he made plays in there that you wouldn't expect any college quarterback to make, as far as throwing the ball into traffic, poor decisions, just putting it up for grabs. So he's got to rebound. I'm real curious to see how he bounces back against the Jets Sunday back at the Meadowlands, and take it from there. I haven't given up on him. I still think he offers a lot, but I think we all need to see a little bit more.
He does offer a lot. There's no getting around it. The Eagles gave up 13 points in the game, didn't win. But what did you think of the Philadelphia defense?
Well, they've been pretty good for a while now, and they're playing well. And You give up 13 points, you should win that game. I think they've been pressuring better. They didn't force any turnovers, which is disappointing. I mean, Daniel Jones puts the ball up for grabs, I think, more than any quarterback in the game. They haven't gotten sacks. They got 19 sacks in 12 games, which is 30th in the league. So, they're tackling well. They're physical. They've gotten good pressure. They just haven't gotten the sacks and the turnovers. And, that's kind of the next step for this group. They're keeping points down for the most part. I think it's pretty good defense right now. They've got some new guys in there who are playing well. T.J. Edwards has really, really improved that linebacker core. He made a big difference. Davion Taylor did as well before he got hurt. But you're seeing a defense that doesn't really have any weak links right now. I mean, the secondary's played a lot better. The linebackers, since the changes, have played better. And the defensive front, I would say, has been disappointing based on our expectations, but it's still a pretty good front. So I think what you're seeing is a new defensive coordinator really starting to understand his personnel and figure out how to use guys, how to get the most out of the players he has. That's a process that takes a while, but and it's also a product of not facing Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes and Dak Prescott in a row. So I think being honest, I mean, look, any defense is going to struggle when you're facing those kind of guys back to back to back, or almost. So I think you're seeing some growth, but also the schedule certainly has been favorable too.
I know when Penn State has played Wisconsin, and Jack Ham and I, will break down Wisconsin. We were always impressed by T.J. Edwards. You mentioned him in that answer right there. What's allowed him to translate to become a good NFL linebacker?
Yeah, I think, he was undrafted out of Wisconsin, and, he was kind of raw. And one of those guys, sometimes those undrafted guys just need time, to really learn the NFL game. He's always been a big hitter, but now he kind of knows where to be. He's more disciplined. I think he's in better shape to be able to handle 50 snaps a game, than when he was starting some games as a rookie. He's made a big difference, and he's fun to watch. He's given them a real big upgrade at linebacker, and you're right. I mean, he was always a physical player, but I think he's learned how to. He's gotten better in coverage too. I mean, he's become a decent coverage linebacker. So, and he can blitz. So I don't think he's ever going to be an elite player just because. The reason he was undrafted is because he doesn't run fast, but he gets the most out of what he has, and I certainly wouldn't want to run the ball against him because he's one of those really physical interior linebackers, old school guy, Big Ten guy that you just don't want to see, when you're running up the middle.
Outstanding answer. It's exactly who he is. All right, Jalen Reagor. To me, guys are who they are. And that's why I never liked the Reagor pick to begin with, because I watched some of the stuff at TCU and I went, okay, I don't get it.
Yeah.
How much longer? I mean, look, they're not going to cut him next week. And you and I both know that when you're a first-round pick, you got to play your way out of someplace.
Exactly.
Is he in the process of playing his way out of the place?
It's a great question, and we just had Doug Peterson was just on one of our podcasts with John Clark, and he talked at length about Jalen. He was with Jalen last year, and it was really interesting to hear him talking about him because everybody in the organization thinks he has talent. Now, does he have enough talent? Should he have been drafted where he was? No, but he has enough talent to play in the league, and I think the problem now is upstairs, and I think that's clear watching him. He's thinking, he's out there thinking, am I going to catch this ball? Am I going to drop this ball? And you can't play like that. Right. You can't play thinking about whether you're going to drop a pass. Like the longer it takes the pass to get to him, the less chance he has to catch it. You see, he makes some great catches when it's mid-range or like a 12-yard out. The ball gets there in a second. He catches it. It's all just reflex, and he just catches the ball. But the more time he has to think, so that tells you it's mental at this point. He's doubting himself. Confidence is an issue. I'm not saying he would ever be a great player, but he should be better than this. So, they don't really have a lot of options, and I think it does make sense to stick with him and try to get him going. It just can't be at the expense of the offense. And you see, there's times where they run these Reagor plays, these little short passes and try to get him the ball quickly so he can use it. But they always end up in like a loss of yards. You can't do that. So they're trying to get him going, in the scheme of things, and it's hard to do because you can't play football trying to get someone going. That can't be your goal. So it's a tricky position, but they don't really have anyone else to put out there. So first-round pick, you made that investment. You got a lot riding on the kid. He's going to get every opportunity. And the Eagles went through this with Nelson Agholor a couple of years ago, and Doug Peterson gave him a week off. He had a terrible game against the Seahawks, really similar to Jalen's game, Reagor's game against the Giants Sunday, and he took a week off. He ran scout team. He was inactive on game day against the Packers. He cleared his head, and and he didn't exactly light it up when he came back, but he had a clear head. He didn't drop any more passes and went on to have an incredible game in the Super Bowl. He had 3 straight first down catches on a game-winning drive in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And he's now in his 7th year. He had almost 900 yards last year for the Raiders. So he's become a decent player. And Doug on the John Clark podcast said, there could be some value in doing the same thing with Reagor. Get him away from the game for a week, let him clear his head, let him, run the service team for a week and work on his confidence and just have fun. Just go out without the pressure of knowing there's a game. Just go out and have fun. Nick has said he won't do that, but I certainly think there'd be some value in it.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Finally, Zach Wilson did come back and is now back with the Jets. They did beat Houston last week. It's another, quote, NFL team. What's your thought on this?
Well, my thought is the matchup, I think, of a veteran defense and a young quarterback is one that the Eagles have to take advantage of. They have to show him looks that he hasn't seen. They have to confuse him. They have to mix things up, and they have to hit him. I mean, he's a guy who does, I guess it's true for every quarterback, but he doesn't handle pressure well. And, they've been up and down with pass pressure this year. They've got to get some pressure on him and force him into some mistakes. I think when he can set his feet, I'll tell you what, when he can set his feet and he's got good protection and there's a guy open, he'll fire it down there. He's got a big arm. That's not the problem. The problem is when he's got to move around, when his initial read isn't open, when he's got somebody bearing down on him. He's just, he struggles in those situations. So they got to make sure he doesn't get comfortable in the pocket, because if he does, he could make it a long day. But I think they've gotten decent pressure. That's got to continue, and if it does, they should get out of there with a win. But certainly nothing's coming easy to this team right now, so I think everyone's going to be holding their collective breath Sunday at 1.
Rube, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time as always.
Anytime. Good talking to you.